I'm Julian Rogers, and this is On Point. We continue our conversation with the Minister responsible for public utilities and aviation. It's Robin Yearwood. Minister, let's continue our conversation by looking again at some of the work of the Antigua Public Utilities Authority. And in this case, we come back or revisit the matter of APUA's ability to deliver services to the populace of this country. How bad is the debt?
Well, we need all the monies for the services that we have provided to the people of Antigua and Barbuda. I'd just like to tell you, for electricity, the commercial customers, they owe $87,712,810.15. For the domestic, $22,660,831.01. For the industrial, $12,637,759.95. A total of $122,151,697.90. For water, for agriculture, $2,345,483.27. For commercial, $22,275,657.43. Domestic, $13,114,951.26. Industrial, $1,176,148.40. Then we have an additional, the way we sell water to some people come in the trucks, $117,476.65. And we have some commercial who actually buy water, $244,128.19, a total of $39,273,845.
So those are receivables on your books.
Yes.
As of the very latest figures.
This is the latest figures up to the last month.
Okay.
July 15th.
All right. So 22 million on one side as far as electricity is concerned, and you've got another 39 million in terms of water.
As far as electricity is concerned, 22 million?
122 million.
Oh, you just said 22.
Yeah, 122 million.
That's right, yeah.
All right. Now, which then begs the question, where did the amnesty play in all of this?
The amnesty numbers would not be there.
Yes.
But the amnesty figures just a little over $10 million up to July 15th, and we're still computing. All the accounts are not putting in as yet, because as we deliver the services back, that's when we put them to books to know.
Was it a mistake to do the amnesty?
No, it was not a mistake, because people who have had maybe problems over the last 10 years and were not paying, we have put in those, and those are paying now. They're back in the system. Yes, a few of them would owe, but if they owe, they'll get disconnected. So I think it was a worthwhile venture, especially where it was felt in the telephone sector. Landlines are back in play. We have installed, for this year, we have installed an additional 5,000 landlines. Amnesty and other people who have come in for landlines, 5,000.
So at a point where we thought the the cell phone was taking over, you're saying in essence that landlines are coming back.
But people, it's cheaper, and some people like their landlines, and would like to have it at their homes. It's cheaper. In the night, you can get 6 minutes for 15 cents. Very good. Talk as you like. And we have other programs that are going to come out for the telephone. They're in the preparatory stage now. That we're coming out is the people's telephone. And we are making sure that we get it to the people, so we feel the telephone, the APUA belongs to the people, and they should be part and parcel of owning or using an instrument from their own company.
Before I get back to the receivables, I want to ask you about this whole matter of, there's the international expectation is that there's water for all, for instance. Water clearly is a commodity that you get at a price that really doesn't reflect the cost of producing it.
That's right.
And governments are very sensitive about raising the price of water.
Right.
The question somebody asked was, why does APUA not find a way to provide water to every home in Antigua and Barbuda and put an end to standpipes and therefore lift people's expectations and availability to water? Is that an unreasonable expectation?
Well, my friend Julian, that is what a modern thinker would say. But I would just like to just inform you, there's a philosophy entrenched in the Antigua Labour Party. Standpipes must be available. It could be one in a village, must be available to the people.
But not suggest, this suggestion, as I understand it, is not to end all standpipes.
Oh, well, we are,
But
because many of the people have water now, and we can supply water to any home, right? And
But so let me stay with this, because what the point somebody was making to me is, look, not everybody could afford to pay APUA to run pipes, for instance, to where they live, but yet they need water. And in some cases, there may be elderly people living in a particular area. They can't go to the standpipe, or they may not have young people around them to help draw water, as the case may be. Can it be realistic that APUA could institute a service based on, say, a means test to ensure that everybody gets water?
once that anybody have any property near to the main pipe, we'll hook them up. And it's not that much money, but people must understand, land developers who sell you the land, they add the prices of electricity, water, and telephone into their prices and sell it to you. Why APUA should use their limited resources, putting in 18,000 to achieve a $70,000 a month.
You're talking about major land development. I'm talking about poor people here.
Any poor people in any village, water is available any place in Antigua and Barbuda, any place. We're putting them in now as fast as we can. We have more applications in now than we can have it put in right now. Because there were lack of meters, as I told you earlier on. Now we're full of meters. We're going ahead.
Are you saying, Minister, you're a politician?
Yes.
You're campaigning for office.
Yes.
You won many, many times. So you go into Willie Keys, your constituency, and you pass and you see somebody drawing water. Can you go to that person and say, where do you live? Assess what their situation is and say, I'm sure that APUA can run pipe and give you water in your home so you don't have to come and draw water all the time.
Well, my friend Julian, every village that you go to, if you look and see who use the standpipe, it's not the villagers. I would say 98% of the people in the village, they have their water attached to them. Sure, you might have a young person, a young guy, who just rent a little house there, put it in somebody's land. He doesn't want water for some odd reason, but if he wants, he can have it. Right? Most of the standpipes now that you see, it's farmers. You see some people are building homes, and they want water. The contractors, you see they stand at the standpipe with a hose running into the drums.
Who pays for that, Minister?
You, the people of the country, right? And we have got to be very, very strong in issues, because, as I said, the Prime Minister and his cabinet gave me a directive that I must have enough reverse osmosis water to meet the needs of the people. And that is costly. And I've told the cabinet that, I told the Prime Minister that. He says, wait until we put in the next hour plant, then we can talk about pricing. All right. So the next hour plant will be up and ready by November this year. So we're going to talk, I'm going to talk to my Prime Minister and his cabinet. We're not going to be able to run those plants at the price we're saying. And just en passant, an English person told me, he's working in Antigua, that the water in Antigua is cheaper than what he pays in England. And we have RO, and they have runoff water. So and I'm quite certain that the people expect they would have to pay a little bit more for this our water. We haven't had an increase in water for over 35 years.
I'm aware of a regional discussion,
Yes.
big debate among the water producers of the region, for instance, that raising the price of water is one of the most sensitive political decisions to be made.
Yeah.
You're a politician. You're suggesting that there's a possibility of raising the price of water in Antigua.
Right? Yes. Yes, because look, we cannot carry it. It has to come from somewhere. We're not going to tell you that we're going to double. We're still going to make it possible that people can pay.
Do you think you can take it to its economic cost of
No.
No.
No, we can't.
Nowhere
go
near there.
No, we can't go there, because the poor people will have a problem, right? So we know that we must give a subsidy to the people of this country when it comes to water, and it's a commodity they must use. And that is why we want the people of Antigua and Barbuda to help us rebuild telephone and keep out the cherry pickers and use what they have here, that we can rebuild it, because as we make the profits from telephone, we put it over into water. But the last 10 years, telephone ran down until it's not making no profit. It's going back up to make a profit this year. Okay, small profit. But it went down. Here it is, the jewel in the crown of APUA. Losing money. You ever heard anything like that? That's where APUA went. Now we're rebuilding, is going up. And I encourage the people of Antigua and Barbuda that we love each other. We are our neighbors' keepers. Use the APUA instrument of telephone, that we can subsidize that water to keep that water at affordable levels.
You're watching On Point with Julian Rogers, still to come.
So you're saying, in essence, as far as you're concerned, looking down the road, if fuel prices stay low, it is counterproductive to invest in alternative energy.
Of course.
You're watching On Point with Julian Rogers.
You talk about 122 million owing from several sectors. How can you get that money in an environment where everybody's bawling blue murder and saying the economy is not yet pumping out the kind of money that people need?
Well, we are carrying all this, but we're prepared to be reasonable. You might not be able to pay your full $50,000 debt, but if you can come in and make arrangements with us and keep us on that arrangement every month, we can do business. Yeah.
A sizable amount of that is domestic, of 22 million.
Yeah.
And you've given an amnesty, and it's
Yes.
still very high.
Yes, but when it comes to the real domestic people, I think it's some of it is changing houses, changing locations, walking off without paying their bill. So the landlord is making arrangement now to pay little, while the bailiff is looking to give a summons for that type of stuff. We do have that, right? We do have some people that are stealing the services, and we're catching them, and they have to pay for their mistake. So we tell the people, this Labour government is not to kill the poor people, kill people who have, all of us have some rough time at some stage. Just come in, talk to us. We can make a plan that will suit you. We can. Every steady little cent, it helps.
The agricultural sector, $2 million owed.
That's the bad
Drought.
area. Drought. Have you driven around even when the drought was at its peak? Well, it's still at its peak, but have you driven around and see those green patches? So water.
So drip irrigation.
They're using drip irrigation, and they are still producing. If you go to Epicurean, you see all the farmers' picture up in Epicurean that are constantly supplying every week the water there that we are supplying to them. They're taking a lot of water. You have never seen agriculture growing in a drought like Antigua has experienced over these past years, right? And all the farms, you look at them, they're growing. Yes, keep on going. We have an obligation to provide you the water, but you have an obligation to pay us for the water. That's all we say. You have no problem.
Minister, you talk about the reverse osmosis plants, but I know that for some time there's been a deep well program to try and find new sources of water at a far deeper level. Where does that stand?
Well, before we went out of office, we brought in people from the satellite going to the moon where they thought we would have had water. It was a foreign company, and they brought in the deep wells, etc., etc. And we dug those wells, and we're getting water from them. But the drought has it so much now that those wells are not able to supply. And during the drought times, we rest this set of wells, we use those, then we rest those, we use those, then we come back to these. So the wells are there, but it's the dry weather, it's so dry. Okay, if you go around in the countryside, you see some of the earth actually split in this drought. So if we get some rain, or constant little rain, etc., it could recharge those wells. But we are using the wells. As a matter of fact, we get about 500,000 gallons a day from the wells right now, as we change them. But if it continues like this,
How much water are we using on a daily basis?
Well, we're providing 5.7 million. Right now, 400,000 is off track because of the pumps. We're ordering them, and we'll get back that 400,000 as soon as these pumps come in. But right now, we're putting 5.3 million gallons every day into the system, every day.
When we do have water, for instance, our ponds are full, can we not better manage those ponds, the water that is collected in there, so that we don't have as much drought as we've had in recent times?
Well, we've been thinking, Julian, about the same thing, that question that you asked. But Antiguans, as you know, the ponds are there. Some people feel it's God ponds, and to do something with them
Is contrary to nature?
there's an attitude problem. But we're going to have to let them realize it's more people, more investment coming into the country. We're going to have more water, etc. Therefore, these reservoirs have got to be brought under APUA control for maintenance, etc., so that we can have, when it's dry weather, we're able to supply everyone. So you're right. It's been thought of. I think that the water manager went 2 months ago on a seminar just to discuss that in the Caribbean. So I think that we're thinking about that, but we'd have to go out and talk to the people and let them know that we're going to take them over, manage them, and we're not going to allow people just to put pumps in them and pump them out, pump them out, pump them out. We will control them as if our plant. We have to control it for all of us to survive and benefit.
Which leads me then, I go from water to electricity again. And I want to zero in on alternative energy sources, and particularly the facility that APUA had offered or has offered to the private sector. If you create an energy source, the extra, the surplus, would be available for the APUA grid. Where is that?
But actually, the Prime Minister's government said that we want 20% of renewable energy by 2020. We've already been there, and it's 2015. We cannot just allow this development of energy. We have bills to pay. We have debts to pay. And we have got to look at what is in the interest of the country. These renewable energy, we just sent one of our technicians to visit one, and they have 3 megs of electricity installed, but all what they get is 30% of that. 30%. APUA is the standby. It's the standby. Come on. Come on. We have to look at the survival of the poor people. They can't buy the solar. We have debts that were run up during those times, that all of us benefited from the electricity services. So we can't just let, because right now we have people with solar, but we benefit nothing from that.
You're saying that none of that energy comes back into the grid?
But it comes back into the grid, small amount of energy comes back into the grid. But bearing in mind, we cannot be dependent upon that. When the sun goes over that and they cut out, you're going to be on APUA. You have the next door neighbor. Without that, going to be on us. Why my electricity gone out? So we shut down and feeling that your electricity would supply that house. Can't work. We have to have spinning reserves in the system. Right now as we speak, we have 5 megawatts of reserves in the system. 5. We don't know when you're going to go home and you're going to put on your washing machine, your TV, whatever it is. So we have it in the system. At our expense, APUA. If we could, with what they have more than 5 megawatts of electricity from solar into the system now. But we can't see the benefit because we can't turn off one of the engines. Because we're putting you at a disadvantage. The time it takes when that power goes down or whatever it is, the time it takes to start that engine, something could have happened in there.
So you don't see a time
When we finish paying our debt, then we can discuss it and have a discussion.
But shouldn't that plan be in place now? In other words, looking down the road and making plans for alternative energy sources to be deployed?
We're looking at it, we always look at it, but we do not see the benefits to the public utilities company to meet its obligation. Okay?
In some countries, tax incentives have been provided
Tax incentives?
to encourage people to go after alternative energy and contribute to the grid.
Well, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. You look in all the developed countries, they still have their fossil fuel. It's a lot of money they have involved in it, etc. And the renewable energy have not cut into it that they can turn off. And you heard Japan just went back to start its nuclear plants. Okay. So we have to balance it. Sure, it might suit you individually, but we have to look at what suits the country.
So you don't see it as a big collective exercise?
Well, down the road, but as of now, we're not seeing any benefits from what we have on the grid. We're not. Because for those who want to know, let's go. We turn off the grid, turn off one engine tomorrow or anytime, and see if we can get that steady for the duration. Just can't happen. We have to go in stages to get there. We have to. Right? And you have seen some of the solar companies that you hear gone bankrupt, etc., etc. And right now, with the fuel moving down, I'm quite certain that the APA power it's cheaper now. It's cheaper now. And it will be cheaper.
So you're saying, in essence, as far as you're concerned, looking down the road, if fuel prices stay low, it is counterproductive to invest in alternative energy.
Of course. For price-wise. But if you're a very hard-nosed environmentalist.
No, but if the price of fuel goes back up, if the price of oil, goes back up in that stratosphere that it was at one point,
we have to
might you not regret that you have not given a drive to alternative energy?
We have to look at all options. But the given now, we owe. We don't know how much, as we discussed earlier, what the court would say with the JVC plant. When that is done, it's you and I, the people, have to pay for it. It's APUA. how we can just jump and go over there.
That's
To
a
tax
lot.
the people of Antigua and Barbuda to pay for that. I would not like to be taxed to pay for that, to pay for somebody's mistake. And I would encourage my constituents to support that type of thing. We got to be reasonable, eh? We got to be reasonable.
You're watching On Point with Julian Rogers, still to come.
Might you not run West Indies Oil into the same problems you have with APUA? In
No,
other words,
we are not
make it an uneconomic operation.
No, West Indies Oil must run as a business.
You're watching On Point with Julian Rogers.
Then let me ask you then about the whole matter of the cost of electricity. Fuel prices, the fuel prices are going down.
So is APA prices going down. So is APA prices going down. And more so now that we, the government, own Western Oil Company, we'll have a better chance to talk to them to get the best fuel prices.
Are you suggesting you can talk to them or pressure them? Which one? Since you own the plant?
The choice is yours. Whichever word you want to use.
You seem to suggest that you're in a better position to negotiate with West Indies
but
Oil.
we can talk to West Indies Oil. Okay, it's people who live here who you can talk to them every day. You see them drive past. You might meet them in the supermarket or whatever it is. So,
Are we talking moral suasion here? Are we talking pressure on the management of West Indies Oil to acquiesce to the government's demands?
No, not to put on no pressure. Reasonableness. For instance, you can buy fuel there for 10 cents and you can buy it there possibly for 8.2 cents. So we encourage, look, you can get the fuel for 8.2 cents. So we should get it at a cheaper rate than if it's at 10 cents.
Might you not run West Indies Oil into the same problems you have with APUA? In
No,
other words,
we are not
make it an
running.
uneconomic operation?
No, West Indies Oil must run as a business.
Like APUA?
Yeah, but you might want a markup. Just here in Antigua, you can go to several businesses and you get that pen for $5. Another one it's $8. Another one is $10. The markup is higher.
So you can assure the people of this country that West Indies Oil, now in government ownership, will not be pressured into making decisions that the government wants in terms of its relationship with APUA and in terms of the cost of fuel in this country.
I am certain that APA will not approach the government to put pressure on West Indies Oil Company as a business venture. Okay? The only time is if West Indies Oil Company want to charge us more, and we know we can buy it out there and bring it in cheaper than they do because they're gouging us. But that's a different kettle of fish.
But why would a government-owned entity gouge a government-owned entity?
No, but the government is not in the play every day out there. The other shareholders, right? But we have a very good working relationship presently for the last, even before we bought Western Oil Company, which is business. Two of us must survive. And it's working very well. I have no problems with that. Right?
How do you see this new ownership evolving over time to the country's benefit?
Well, the country will get, if the company makes a higher profit, we will get that into our treasury. It can go for schools, better equip the police force, do so many things. So those profits can be used for developmental purposes. So it's a win-win situation for the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
Let me ask you about the plight of the gas retailers. Talking to one of them today who said that the current situation is one in which the cut that they get from the sale of fuel is so small that they're really surviving on the sale of bread and lottery tickets.
I'm not the Minister of Energy, right?
Yes.
Which I was one time. And I'll be honest with you. The day the government decides to let fuel sells for what the service station wants, is the day you see many of them get out of government, get out of the business. Because 2 or 3 service stations who will put that price, because nobody can tell them to lower it, demand and the volume. But when government sits down and negotiate political pressure, they get $1, I think it's 5 cents per gallon. It's not your fault or my fault that sometimes they wait for half an hour or an hour to get a car pulling up there. Have we ever thought of, in a small country like this, the last count I heard was 22 service stations? I leave the people of Antigua and Barbuda to think about that.
Let's turn our attention to the Transport Board, which you have responsibility for. I know the public has heard a great deal about management and lower level officials within that organization facing the courts. That's one matter. Now, there was a grand plan, grand design as far as that facility is concerned. You had a look at it. What's the situation now?
With
The Transport Board.
the Transport Board inherited large debts. See that monstrosity down there they call the car park?
That was not an original debt under the Transport Board?
Yes, it is. That is a debt for the Transport Board
From the very beginning?
from the very beginning.
Okay.
But the Transport Board, they were not involved in the setting up, the borrowing, the everything of it, but they were saddled with it. Right? The Transport Board buildings, the buildings, nice buildings, cost nice money. Right? But the Transport Board is now able to hold its own. We cannot pay off what we owe, etc. Coupled with that, if we're speaking frankly, it's overstaffed. And every Friday, there's a hand. So when we look at it, we have to bring it closer to reality. No problem in spending $50 when you have $500. But there's a problem in spending $50 when you only have $150. With requirements for $3, for $300. So we have been looking at it. We have caught up with our debts, excluding the parking building
The Transport Hub?
downtown.
Yes.
We've caught up with our debt, and we're looking to discuss with the people that we owe for renegotiation of interest.
You're talking about the Transport Board building,
Building.
that debt.
Yes.
What was it?
It was supposed to be 25, and it ended up almost 50. Okay, don't ask me, because we're only getting the auditor's statement. I think they finished when we got back into power. And the Prime Minister asked me, I couldn't look in the Prime Minister and give him a proper answer because there were no audited financial statements. I couldn't go over any of the numbers. So the auditors came in, and the latest I heard, that I was told that they're finished up to 2013. So they're going on to 2014 now. And those will be, we'll see where we're going. But we have other plans to increase the revenue.
Such as?
Parking meters.
Parking meters in town?
Yes. We're going to start there now. And we're under active discussions for parking meters. That will bring, I hope, some additional revenue. The management has been asked to prepare documents to bring before me to see the pros and the cons of it, where it goes.
You said you caught up on the debt at Transport Board. You put that figure at 50 million. Where'd the money come from to catch up on that?
On the buildings?
Yes.
Well, running a tighter shop and the licensing fees and putting our money to work for the Transport Board.
You've made investments on behalf of the Transport Board?
Pardon me?
You say you put the money to work.
By
What do you-
paying you the debtor
Okay.
and making that a priority rather than say when. So we make sure that it's standard practice. We have to pay the people we owe. We owe people still. Every day I'm getting bills that Transport Board owed them for something. So these bills are being checked out now. And they're local people. And I wouldn't want to see them get shafted, but it has to be justified. Some signature got to certify that the bill was,
That the work was completed.
that the work was completed. And you ask, where was this work? And you have to trace it. That's why the accounts are so necessary, to see if you paid for buying 6 desks and you're getting a bill for 6 more desks. Then you can verify if there were 6 desks or 12 desks. But they're in a better position. It's a more stringent management looking for the good of the Transport Board.
Is this as a result of the input of Dean Jonas as chairman? What is is he serving as executive chairman of
No,
Transport
he's not
Board?
executive chairman. He's not executive chairman. He's chairman of the board, and they discuss. They have the right to call and check and see if
The new managers in place?
yeah, Hubert Jarvis is the acting general manager.
Right.
So they're going ahead, but the budget is there, and they're following the budget, and they're not having lobster and steak for lunch anymore.
All right. So the building you talked about, I come back to the grand design about creating a number of services there, looking after government's motor pool and so on and so on and so on. Are those things still going to happen?
Yes,
At the
with,
new facility.
with the government motor pool, yes, we used to. When we went there, the motor pool was with the Transport Board. Something went awry, and we're reorganizing that now, where the Transport Board will manage the motor pool, the government school buses, the government vehicles, It was built with certain equipment to repairs and everything, and so we're looking to get that going now. As we speak, there's a new guy who will be going in there to be over that aspect of it, to manage it. And as I said before, part of our policy is to have everything be profit center. It must. And so the motor pool must be a profit center too. Must. And we're getting that. But as I said, I'm happy that the management up there, Jarvis and his accountant and these people, they're paying. When we took over, they had owed the bank for the building, and told them we have to catch up with that. And they owed other people that they had owed, and we're catching up with those. And we want to keep them current. So there's no little money can spend for adventure. You got to spend to upgrade the transport board to make it viable. And the next thing we're going to take on is parking meters. And at the same time, I discussed with the board for the car park to get certain details that we can get approval from the cabinet the way forward. We have lots of people who are interested in getting involved with the completion of the car park. But one of the things that we have to verify first, who holds the deed for that property the car park is upon. And we're not going to be able to convince you to come and go and do the car park without you knowing, and you can get a legitimate lease from the government, and the government is not in a position to do that right now. But I gave instructions to them that they have to get the A to Z about that car park. Then we go over to Trinidad, have some meaningful discussions, but you have to see the paperwork, how it went along, what to go along. Because one of the things that baffles me is that how can a contractor, a lender, get off the job? They had bought air conditioning, other materials, etc., and walk off the job and just leaving them there. And people pick them up, take them, gone. Yeah. We were able to salvage 2 large air conditioners, but most of it had been stolen, with the copper, with everything. It was just banded. So we got to get into why. Why would a contractor just walk off? Why would a lender did not secure his finances, etc.? So we are looking at that now, because we have more than 3 companies who are interested in it. But it's the authority. Can the cabinet give me authority to sign a lease with Julian Rogers? The cabinet just can't at this day. And that's keeping that back. But notwithstanding that, we want to get into St. John's and do the parking meters.
Is that the reason why you're hesitant, for instance, to make sure that the car park doesn't remain an eyesore? I mean, first of all, the fences came down, but now we see all the bush and growth hanging around the place. Can it not be cleaned up in the interest of making the city look tidy?
Yeah, when last if you pass here, my colleague, Minister Joseph, he did a great job in sending his men there and clean that place. And I'm quite certain that sometime before the week is ended, I will take a drive there and look at it, or send some of our people to look at it. And if it needs to be cleaned around again, I am positive that Minister Joseph will assist me in cleaning there. So I have no problem about that.
You're watching On Point with Julian Rogers, still to come.
It's time for this country to own something and prize themselves, and that was the philosophy of the Labour Party going back, to own the electricity, water and telephone.
You're watching On Point with Julian Rogers.
All right. In the remaining time, I want to get back to some of the products of APUA
Sure, sir.
and ask you about the future, for instance, of the cellular service. We can start there.
The what?
The future of the cell service.
Right.
All right. It was at one point there was an effort to sell the cell service, no pun intended. Is it up for sale?
No. No. The cabinet, I went to the cabinet with it, and the cabinet, the Prime Minister, write down, we feel it's an Antiguan thing. We feel it works well, and we are going to put all efforts into getting that up. And we're looking into the future, that if one of our OECS brothers would like, in the future, we're thinking, as you keep on asking about the future, we're thinking of going to some other island in the future, but we're developing home first. First and first.
And if you get an offer from another one of the operators?
The modern world is, as I think and said to you, this is Antigua, and it was started Antigua. When we started this, we started with the GSM, right? When others had a different system. We toiled, and we built that to where it was up to 2004. The thing that, with that goes to my heart, it was built by the owners of it, the people of Antigua and Barbuda. And what it is, Antiguans can't own nothing. We go to university, we can't run nothing. When it is to work for the government, we can't run nothing. But a foreign company can take us, somebody can, and send us to another country, and we can run something. It's time for this country to own something and prize themselves, and that was the philosophy of the Labour Party going back, to own the electricity, water and telephone. And the Labour Party, my Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues, they haven't told me that, and the convention of the Labour Party has told me that has changed. Full time for Antiguans and Barbudans to own something. And for me personally, when the Antiguans, they come and they have the money and they want to get involved in it personally, their children, etc., I have no problem. It's Antiguan. And let us be proud of it. We must own something. Right? And I dare say we have the fiber optic, the opportunities in it, and I'm inviting the Antiguans to come in, whether for data or whether for marketing, whatever it is, we have it. It's time for our Antiguans to stand up and be counted and be proud that is ours.
Would you share that as we talk about fiber now, because you have the fiber, you've invested a lot of money in fiber over time? Would you share that fiber with the other operators in the marketplace?
Yes, we have no problem. They can rent, but that fiber has enough room in it for all of us. They can rent. We have no problems, with that. Do you know we buy services from the other two
Operators?
operators? Right now we buy from them. So why they can't buy from us? They can buy from us. Yeah. And all and sons, you must know, the Antiguans and Barbudans, Barnya, they're entitled for their country to mount up. And they became, and they will become owners.
Do you then see a time when APUA would be a company that will be offered as a publicly traded company with residents in this country making a direct investment and ownership of shares in APUA?
That's why I'm working, and the Labour Party is working so hard. It's for some time to bring that to a profitable stage where Antiguans and Barbudans own the whole of APUA. That would be my goal before I die. That would satisfy me. And that's why I work very hard to achieve that type of thing. I am not working as an Antiguan minister for somebody to come and cherry pick and go on with that. I'm not in that. When the profits are made here, it goes back here. And that's where I am. And that's the philosophy of my Labour Party.
And as a shrewd investor, you put your money where your mouth is.
Hell yes. The day that I work to get that into a profitable state where I can look every Antiguan and Barbudan in their eye and say, yes, yes, you can have a dividend, I'll be the first to take my hard-earned money, put it in there. And if that's what it takes, and I know I'll grab my Prime Minister, I'll grab all my cabinet colleagues, and the day when I'm doing it, all of us going down there to do it. All of us. We're not going to talk about that, but you don't see the philosophy of the Labour Party that lead the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance with that bank rescue is for Antiguans. That's the love we have for Antiguans. It's Antiguan money in there. And the Minister of Finance was the Prime Minister, and the Cabinet could not see that go under. No. That's our thinking. That's our philosophy. All of you are saying to our people, Rome wasn't built in a day. We know you had it hard and damn hard, very hard. But we're working to lighten that burden, to bring it back to where we had left it years ago. But cooperate with us and have some patience with us. We're going to reach the promised land with you on our backs.
I have to ask you finally, Minister,
Yes.
in terms of your own investments, there's a suggestion that Robin Yearwood has invested in the energy sector.
No. No. And no. Okay? I have a service to provide to my people, to be honest to them. I could not invest in something that I can influence. They would have a right to chop me up. I'm not a two-timer. Say yes here and then go and say no there. A traitor to my people? No. No. No.
Thank you, Minister.
It's a pleasure, sir.
All the very best. That's the second edition of our conversation with Minister Robin Yearwood, responsible for public utilities and aviation. Be sure to join us for the next edition of On Point, right here on ABS Television. I'm Julian Rogers.